M-Game is a professional USB streaming audio interface with customizable lighting, voice effects, and sampling for the ultimate game streaming experience. On the face of the unit, faders independently control the volume of your audio sources. To the left of the center knob is the volume for your microphone with 2 different types of mute on the Solo and 3 different types on the RGB Dual, a configurable mic mute, a sensor button, and on the RGB Dual a double tap to mute the mic to all channels. The function of these buttons can be tailored in the software. On the right of the main control knob are 4 faders that control the volume of your other sound sources, the game, the chat, the sampler, and a mix of the aux-in and system sounds. Each of these also has its own mute. In the center, there is a large control knob. By default, this knob acts as the main volume control, which controls the volume to your headphones and to your main outs. Exclusive to the RGB Dual, there is also a button labeled FX Param to the left of the knob control. Engaging this button changes the center knob into a control for the chosen parameter of the activated voice effect, which can be set in the software. Underneath the center control knob are effects buttons, sample buttons, and a bank button. With the RGB Dual, you can load 2 banks worth of effects and samples, allowing you to preset 4 effects and 10 samples across the 2 effects buttons and 5 sample buttons. The Solo is similar, but has 1 effect button, sample buttons, and a sample bank button. The sample bank button toggles between sample banks 1 and 2 for access to 6 samples. Pressing and holding the bank button and pressing a sample button will remove that sample from the button. With no sample assigned to the sample button, pressing and holding down an unassigned sample button will record a new sample until the button is released. Samples will record any incoming audio being sent to the sampler in the M-Game software's routing page. Pressing an effect button will engage a voice effect, while pressing a sample button will trigger a sample. The assignments for these buttons can easily be changed in the software. On the back of the M-Game, you'll see a mic section. Here, you can plug in your microphone, whether it be an XLR microphone into the XLR input or a headset microphone into the 3.5mm input. The knob to the left of these inputs adjusts the mic gain. To the right of the microphone section, you have a headphone out, a main out, and an aux-in, followed by an input for a foot switch controller. Foot switches can be used to do many common tasks without having to take your hands off of your game controller. The exact function of the foot switch can be set in the software. Next is a SPDIF input, which can be used as a digital input for consoles that have an optical output. To the right of this, there is a USB input section. On the RGB Dual, there are 2 USB inputs. For those using dual PCs, this makes setup very easy. The Solo has a single USB input. If using the RGB Dual, users who separate computers for their stream and for playing their game can plug their streaming computer into the stream port and their gaming computer into the game port. If using only one PC with the RGB Dual, connect to the stream port. Selecting which port handles game audio and chat audio can be determined in the M-Game software. Farthest to the right is your AC adapter port and power switch.